wake up with gratefulness, to wake up excited that you're alive today, and to
Yeah.
notice and acknowledge all the small good things in your life, whether that's a sip of water or a sip of coffee.
Mush, thank you for joining us here today on The Go with Manav. For those who do not know you, could you please tell us a bit more about yourself?
Hi, Manav. Good to be here. My name is Mush. Mush is the first half of my first name, which is Mushtaq Ahmed Panjwani. I was born in India. I grew up in Pakistan. I lived in Hong Kong for 20 years. My nationality is Chinese. I moved back to Pakistan about 7 years ago, and I live in Pakistan now.
Wonderful. Looking forward to diving deep into your career journey and looking forward to understanding how you got to where you are today. I would love to go back in time to understanding first, what was your first job like, and did you attend university?
My first job was at the age of 15. I finished school from a charity school in Karachi, Pakistan. I was extremely poor, so went to a charity school. And after I finished my school at the age of 15, I couldn't go to college because I was poor, didn't have enough money. So I got a job in the same school where I finished my secondary school at the age of 15. I was doing odd jobs, just looking after the store, keeping things organized. And then later during that job, I learned typing and became a typist. So I did that for about a year, and then I got a scholarship, got into college. And when I was in college, I continued doing part-time jobs, mainly private tuitions. And the way it worked in those days in Karachi was that the tutor would visit the kids' homes and teach them in their homes. So I used to do that morning college, afternoons, evenings, tuitions. And then I got into the engineering university, which is what I wanted to do at that time. I wanted to be an engineer. So I went to NED University in Karachi and continued doing my part-time jobs. One of the part-time jobs I got during that time was selling encyclopedias door to door. It was the first company in Pakistan to set up a direct sales company, first company to import and sell encyclopedias in Pakistan. So I did that. So university in the morning and evening, sales job. And I loved the sales job so much. I dropped out of the university to pursue a career in sales. And once I started doing that full time, I started building a sales team. I started training the sales team. I started reading extensively about sales, marketing, customer service, personal development, motivational stuff. And I became a trainer at that time to start training the small sales team that I was building. I did it for about 11 years, from a part time salesman in that company to the general manager of that company, from one encyclopedia division to three separate divisions, including a division called Time Life Books, which was a division of Time magazine based in Hong Kong. And we had phenomenal success with that particular product. We used to sell that through a team of sales women. It was the first time in Pakistan that we were able to build a sales team entirely made up of women. And because of that success, I was offered a job in Hong Kong. That was 1997 when everybody was leaving Hong Kong because of the transition. I was given the challenge to help the distributors in the region with their sales and marketing and customer service and recruitment and training programs. I was given a few markets to start with, and then my region expanded into the entire Southeast Asia. We had about 10 countries where we had business, and my job was to help the distributors in those countries build successful sales teams. I did that for 16 years. And from 10 countries, I helped the company grow the business to 21 countries. We built distributors, we built sales teams, marketing teams, customer service teams. That was happening in my job career. And from extreme poverty, I became reasonably rich, started achieving a lot of my dreams and goals in life. And one of the unfulfilled dreams was to be an entrepreneur, which gets harder and harder as you get more and more comfortable in a job, especially if you're good at what you do and you're getting promotions every year and more money and more perks and this and that. And so I had an unfulfilled dream of being an entrepreneur. And every year I would tell myself that I'm going to start next year and next year. But the best thing that happened was I was fired from that corporate job.
How did it feel to be fired?
Well, by that time, I had learned and I was teaching the world how to be positive, regardless of what happens in your life. I had learned to look for the good in every situation. I was depressed for 5 minutes. I actually wrote a blog post on that day. I lost my job and I'm still happy and grateful. And that blog post was extremely successful. And even today, that blog post inspires people to look for the positive when they lose their jobs. So
Yeah.
I figured that's exactly what I needed in my life, to step out of that comfort zone of the job, become an entrepreneur. Within 2 weeks, I set up a training company in Hong Kong, and I started doing corporate training, sales, marketing, customer service. And very soon I learned that there was extreme competition in that area. And because I didn't speak any Chinese, I was having a hard time. Few years before that, I was extensively studying and reading and applying the positive psychology tools and science that had become a thing in those days, called happiness training. How happiness training affects employee productivity and motivation, and how it's an important element of personal development. So I started doing that. I did that for a couple of years, and I had learned that training business is great, but it's not scalable because it's so dependent on how much time you can spend on training. And I had another dream that I wanted to pursue, which was to open a coffee shop. And it so happened that my training business, I got opportunities to train in Pakistan for some corporate training. And during those trips to Pakistan in 2016 and 17, I saw the huge potential of a coffee shop business in Pakistan, because coffee almost didn't exist in Pakistan in those days, because Pakistan is a tea drinking nation. But based on the inspiration I had from how Pacific Coffee had started in Hong Kong, in a tea drinking country, and how Coffee Day in India had started in a tea drinking nation, I was inspired by those two stories. And I knew that I would be able to do the same thing. It would be a huge opportunity. It would create a new business for a lot of other entrepreneurs. It will create a new market segment that didn't exist. But as always, it's difficult to step out of your comfort zone. Life was very comfortable. I had a Chinese nationality, Hong Kong passport. My family was settled here. My kids nobody wanted to move back to Pakistan. And so that was the tough one. But I did take the big step. 2017 end, I moved to Pakistan. I spent 3 months studying and understanding the place. And before moving to Pakistan, I had spent some time learning about coffee because I had no experience. So I read about coffee, did some barista courses in Hong Kong, studied the coffee shop models, spent 3 more months. And then finally, 2018, April, I launched the very first small coffee shop with a dream of making it the largest coffee shop chain brand in Pakistan, which we achieved.
Amazing. Congratulations.
It'll be 7 years in April, and we've opened 15 locations in 5 cities of Pakistan.
Why coffee out of everything?
Because when I lived in Hong Kong, I traveled extensively, and when I traveled, I would spend a lot of time at coffee shops, and I liked the idea of how, when you're away from home, you don't have a home, you don't have an office, you make coffee shops your office. You sit there, you read, you write, you plan, you work, you meet people, you network, and so much happened at coffee shops.
Yeah.
And I love the idea how a coffee shop can have a huge impact. Like within a few minutes, a good coffee shop can change your mood. And I love that idea. It was not as much as about coffee as such as a beverage. It was more about the place, the business model, a place where people come to do their thing, sit and chat and do this and do this and do this and work. And whether they're having a coffee or whether they're having a tea or a mint lemonade was not the main focus. The focus was to provide people a space, which didn't exist
Right.
in Pakistan in those days. Very, very casual chai places, roadside, street side chai places, or there would be these fancy restaurants. There was nothing in between,
I
and I was
see.
trying to fill that gap.
What was the COVID-19 period like for you?
Full of struggle, like everybody else. By that time, we had already opened 5 franchises in Karachi, and we had just opened one of those franchises when COVID hit us. And we had a
Okay.
huge struggle, but we did 3 things during COVID, which were part of our plans, but not, they were like long-term plans. We did a Barista Academy. We launched a Barista Academy during COVID because we said we have a coffee shop, we have the equipment, we can't have customers. Maybe we can have students coming in to learn about coffee. And so it started as a very informal coffee training activity, which turned into a Barista Academy, which till today runs as a separate division of our brand. The other thing we did during COVID was we launched an online store. I started doing video tutorials and start teaching people how to make good coffee at home using home brewing techniques. And people wanted to buy those mocha pots and French press and coffee beans. So we set up an online store during COVID. So that's the second thing that we did. And we also launched a coffee cart, like a food truck, coffee on wheels during COVID. That didn't do very well because of the infrastructure in Pakistan and the issues associated. But the online store and the Barista Academy continues to be two separate divisions of our company today.
How do you stay positive throughout all of this, like with everything you've gone through, from the fact that you got fired from your job, you worked your way up the ladder, and then you obviously opened the coffee chain, and during COVID-19, all of this was happening. So how do you stay positive? What keeps you going, and what motivates you?
Well, it's those principles of positive psychology that I had learned and I was practicing in my life and I was teaching the world. And a couple of those things are to focus on things that are in your control. And whatever is not in your control, you have to accept them. So if it's the weather today, it's hot today, or it's raining today, or it's a storm today, you can't control that. So instead of focusing and worrying and agonizing and getting angry over that, you just do things that are in your control. So what am I going to do today if it's a storm? Am I going to work from home? If I have to go out, carry an umbrella in COVID, wear a mask, be safe, be careful. So focusing on things that are in your control, that's the key when uh, things that are not happening according to your plan. And the other thing is gratitude, which is probably the number
Mm.
one happiness principle that I learned a very, very long time ago. And that has made a huge impact in my life and everybody that I've touched, to wake up with gratefulness, to wake up excited that you're alive today, and to
Yeah.
notice and acknowledge all the small good things in your life, whether that's a sip of water or a sip of coffee.
How do you manage your time? Like, do you like being busy? Do you always like being on the go? I mean, my podcast is called On the Go and Manav because I love being busy, but that also means that it's about career journeys and highlighting how people got to where they are today. So, do you always love being on the go?
Well, time management is another very important thing in life, and I think that has to do with prioritizing. You prioritize short-term, long-term goals. You prioritize your relationships, your health, your fitness, your work. Sometimes try and compartmentalize. So I'm often asked that question, how do you find time to do all that? I go and swim every day for an hour. So regardless of what's happening, 5:45, I get back wherever I am. I get back to my coffee shop in Clifton and I get in the car. 6 o'clock, I'm in the pool, regardless of how busy whatever is going on, because I prioritize it. So I find time to do that. 7 o'clock, I like to eat my early dinner and I prioritize that. Reading and learning, I prioritize that. So you prioritize and you find time and you organize your life around it.
I agree. Now, moving forward, could you please tell us more about a book you wrote back 10 years ago while you were still working on your hustling business adventures?
When I started training people, very often I started hearing that Mush, you should write a book. And I used to just brush off that idea as a joke. And I said, oh, Mushtaq Ahmed Panjwani, does that sound like an author's name? I don't think so. But I kept hearing this. And one day, as I was writing down my dream list and my wish list, I continued to update my wish list for life, things that I want to do in my life. I added, I wish to write a book. And then one of the things that I've learned and I train people is the 4 steps to achieving the biggest dreams of your life. So dreams and wishes is the first step. The second step is to convert some of them into a goal, which means a specific time bound project. So you convert some of those dreams into goals, and then the goal into a plan, and a plan into an action. And so there was a time in my life when I was looking at those dreams list, and I said, this book thing is never going to happen. But then I said, let me see what's possible. And at that time, having a very busy corporate life and busy weekends and kids and everything else, I figured that I could still write one chapter every Sunday morning. And that one chapter is going to be 2 pages. And the way the book was designed was independent tips and bits of things that I'd learned in life, divided into sections on health and fitness, section on relationships, section on dreams, learning, work, efficiency, etc., including time management and all that. So that's how it started. One chapter every Sunday morning, And writing 100 chapters would need 100 weeks. That's 2 years.
Wow.
At the end of 2 years, I'll pick the 50 best chapters and publish it as a 100-page book. And that's how it happened. And the working title was How to Have a Fantastic Life. So I believe that a fantastic life should have great relationships, great health and fitness, great work, fulfillment, money, personal development, and all of that. When it was time to publish it, I came up with it with change the title to Dhinchak Life. So Dhinchak is slang in Mumbai, where I was born, which is an equivalent of fantastic. So Dhinchak Life means fantastic life, and I thought the title would arouse some curiosity because this book is in English, but the word Dhinchak it sounds weird. It was more like following the footsteps of coming up with words like Yahoo and Google, and so I came up with Dhinchak.
Okay. How did you believe in yourself throughout this whole process? I mean, like you said, Sunday morning. I mean, a lot of people would they could give up easily having to, commit to doing that on a Sunday morning like 100 times, 100 weeks, like more than that actually. So how do you realize your capabilities and the fact that you can do something good and give back to the community?
And that's exactly part of that four steps process. So dreaming is easy, wishing things is easy, but it requires discipline and commitment to convert that into a goal.
Right.
So not a direct answer to your question, but this is very helpful for whoever is watching this. So saying that I would love to travel around the world, everybody wants to do that, right? But
Yeah.
one person says I want to travel around the world, and the other person says I will make a trip to Dubai before the end of 2025. Now that's a goal. So a dream has been converted to a goal because it's very time bound, it's specific. Now, traveling to Dubai in 2025, the third step is going to be a plan. It would require the how, the amount of
Mhm.
time that you need, the amount of money that you need, the number of days you need off from work or business. How do you plan that? So I had been following those principles of what you want to achieve in life, the dreams. When do you want to do them? Goals. How will you do them? The plan. And the hardest part is the fourth part, which is your question actually, which is the action. How do you stay committed and disciplined enough to consistently take that action? And that depends on how committed you are to your dream. So the dream is to be a published author. The goal is to finish writing in 1 year. The plan is to write one chapter every Sunday. And the discipline is whether I'm committed to my dream or not, whether I'm willing to just give up on that dream and never be an author and die with that unfulfilled dream, or am I seriously committed? So if you're
Yes.
committed, you will do whatever it takes. And if you're not committed, you will only do whatever is convenient, whatever is comfortable. And it's all right if you make that conscious decision that no, I don't think I'm as committed to my dream of writing a book, so I'm giving it up after writing it for 2 weeks. But it's a conscious decision, and then you just tell yourself that this is never going to happen. You made a conscious decision. You're not capable. You're not disciplined enough.
Yeah. And talking about what you just mentioned about staying committed, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier when you were transitioning from working in corporate to venturing into your entrepreneurship journey. What was that transition like, leaving your corporate job? Because that was also part of what you wanted to do. So, how did it really feel for you at that moment?
It is the most scary thing. Every entrepreneur knows that the transition from a comfortable job into being an entrepreneur is the scariest thing. I was having that conversation with my daughter. She's done that already once or probably twice. And it's scary. And the reason it's scary because if you ask me what's the biggest challenge for an entrepreneur is the fear of failure, the fear of what if it doesn't work out. And you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for what's the worst thing that's going to happen. The worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to lose all the money. Are you prepared? I'm going to lose time. Are you prepared? And what will people say? Are you prepared? So be prepared for the worst thing that's possible, and then you just jump into it. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, but that's where the dreams happen when you step out of the comfort zone.
That really is. I want to now tie in that with my next question, and that is, what would you say to your 18-year-old self? Because you just highlighted something that was very interesting, and that is the not so positive side about entrepreneurship that people don't really see and would like to hear about because it is very difficult. Nothing is easy in life, of course. And you've been through a lot as well to get to where you are today and worked very hard. So what would you tell Actually, I wouldn't say your 18-year-old self, but what would you tell your 15-year-old self? Because you started your first job at age 15. So what would you tell your 15-year-old self now?
Actually, because my struggles in life started at the age of 15, this question never seems to be relevant in my case because I was already in extreme poverty. I was suicidal at that time. And I'd already told myself what I would even now go back in time and tell myself. I told myself that my mission in life is to break this extreme poverty. My mission in life is to create a better life for my children. I remember I was suicidal because I couldn't go to college. And I told myself that I need to be so wealthy and so rich that when my kids are at the age of college, they can pick any college in the world and be able to afford it. That's what I told myself at the age of 15. And that's what motivated me. That's what inspired me. That's what kept me going.
I appreciate your honesty in that answer and the fact that is what allowed you to find your purpose. Because oftentimes people won't really find their purpose until in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s. So it depends what you've learned, but also the challenges and the obstacles that you've gone through throughout your journey, like you've mentioned in this podcast. But I'm glad that you were able to find the good and just turn things around for the better. And the most important thing is that you've realized your purpose. Now, I'm conscious that we're almost at the end of the podcast, and I have one last question for you, Mush, and that is, what are you up to nowadays?
Well, nowadays, I'm at a stage in my life where I want to grow the business further in Pakistan. I've been working on this project already for the last 8 months, setting up the business on autopilot so I can move back to Hong Kong with my family. I'm going to be 60 years old in April, and birthdays are like milestones for me. I've done quite a lot of my biggest dreams were fulfilled on my birthdays, like trekking in the Himalayas and seeing Mount Everest happened on my birthday. My book publishing happened on my birthday. My coffee shop business was launched on my birthday. My training company was launched on my birthday. So my birthday coming up in April, I want to make some tough decisions on whether to continue building the business myself or set a transition place where the business runs without me physically being there. And the toughest decision for me is now to move back to Hong Kong and enjoy the rest of my life with my family and my children and my grandchildren, and pursue some of the other dreams that I have, which is to still travel a few places that I haven't seen yet and write my second book, read some more, volunteer some. So those are the things that I want to pursue. And my challenge now is to make that tough decision to move back to Hong Kong and start pursuing like a semi-retired life. It won't be retired, but start pursuing some other stuff outside of my work and finances.
That's amazing, Mush. Well, I wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors and everything in what you do.
Thank you for the opportunity. Excellent questions, Manav. I see that you've been doing for a long time and you are asking all the right questions. And I hope this inspires your audience.
Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and your journey. For those who'd like to get in touch with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
The Mush Panjwani on Instagram.
Thank you, Mush. For those that are watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. A new guest will be on very shortly on the Go with Manav. Thank you, Mush, for joining me here today. Take care and see you soon.
Fantastic.